Greetings, folks. You joined me out here for some more motorcycle maintenance today. We're doing some work on my KLR650 Gen-1, and it just passed 15,000 miles. Hope you can see that right there. But yeah, we're at 15,311, I think, 0.1. And yeah, I've got some general maintenance to do on this thing. I've got a lot of different jobs that I want to do. I've got them on a list right here. I'll read them off for you. In this video, we're going to be doing an oil change. We're going to be cleaning some of the easily accessible rust on like my frame and stuff. Going to be doing an air filter clean and oil. Going to be putting on a new tank puck. There are these two like rubber tank pucks. I misplaced one of them, so I bought a new one. I'm going to link everything in the description as far as like links to buy and everything. So going to be readjusting the angle of my headlight because it's a little bit too high right now. It sort of gets in some people's eyes, I've noticed, on the road. I have not tightened the spokes on my wheels yet, so I'm going to be doing that. Going to be checking the spark plug. Going to be cleaning the whole thing, doing a doohickey adjustment, checking the steering bearing, seeing if we need to re-lube it at all. What else? Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. Going to be checking the battery, seeing if our charge is good. Going to be inspecting the lights and switches, making sure they all work okay. Going to be checking and adjusting the throttle cables. Those should be pretty close. I recently put in some new throttle cables. Going to be draining the carb bowl just to get some of that old gas out of there. Make sure it doesn't get too much like varnish inside the carburetor. We're going to be doing a general lube of everything that needs lube or grease. Going to be inspecting and lubing the swingarm linkage and bearings. Going to be doing a chain clean. Going to be flushing and changing the rear brake fluid. Oh yes, and my engine has been leaking a decent amount of oil over the past couple months, and I want to say it really got bad after I did my doohickey replacement, and I have a feeling it's because I didn't use adequate silicone gasket maker when I changed it. And so I think it's possible that that silicone gasket maker just isn't doing the job anymore, and it's allowing some oil to leak. It may be that I didn't clean one of the gasket surfaces well enough, and it also could be that the crush washer on my oil bolt down there isn't really doing the job either. So maybe when I do the oil change, then it will fix itself. But yeah, we're going to be identifying where that oil leak is coming from, and I think we're going to be doing that with baby powder, I want to say, like just coating the whole thing and then seeing where it is coming from. Probably going to do that before the oil change, or at the same time. And then the last thing that I wanted to do is fix the electronics for my clutch handle. There is this notorious problem that KLRs, at least the first gen ones, have, where if your clutch is pulled in at all, the starter motor won't go when you hit the starter button. There's like this finicky issue with the electronics in it, where if your clutch handle is just like slightly pulled out within the like play area of the cable, then the electronics will kill it as well. And I don't know, I had an issue where like even if I pressed the clutch lever out all the way, the starter button still would not work. So I saw a guy on YouTube figure that out. And so I'm gonna link that video. I'm gonna try to do the same thing. And the last thing for this video is that we're gonna be adjusting the suspension preload. I have not done that yet. I haven't adjusted the preload on my shock since I bought it, and I'm sure I'm gonna need to do that. And also, they sell these like aftermarket preload things for the forks, which allow you to adjust it. Right now it's very difficult to adjust. You gotta take the spacers out and then like trim them to what you want. Yeah, so gonna be doing all that in this video. And then in other videos, which I felt were important enough to have their own thing, I'm gonna be putting some new tires on. These are getting pretty old. They've been on there for 8,000 miles, 9,000 miles, something like that. I'm gonna be doing a tubeless conversion. So when I do change the tires, and probably when I do tighten the spokes and do a wheel balance and all that, I'm going to be, I think, putting some silicone on all of the spoke holes so that I don't need to run a tube in them anymore. I'm going to be checking the valve clearance and getting some shims for that. Oh yeah, these crappy plastics right here, I bought some replacements, so we're going to be changing out the side covers, going to be doing a video exclusively on this. And then I also wanted to paint all the other plastics on my bike and sand them all down and stuff, just because they're so sun damaged and stuff right now. I'm thinking chrome, maybe. I feel like that'd be pretty funny, also kind of cool. And I might do a little design in there or something like that. I really love making motorcycle paint designs and like motorcycle games and stuff. Maybe I'll do something on this one. And yeah, that's about that. Big list of stuff to do, lots of stuff. And I've been meaning to do this for like weeks now. I passed 15K like 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, something like that, but it's just been so damn hot in Florida. It's been like over 95 every single day. So I've been trying to wait for a day where it's just cooler, and it's just not happening. So I think I'm just gonna like break this into multiple days and do a couple things. I think today we're gonna start off, we're gonna do the air filter, gonna clean it, oil it. I'm gonna put the new fuel tank puck on there. I'm probably gonna secure it on there with some silicone. And we're also gonna adjust the headlight today. So we're gonna do those 3 things, and then we'll move on with the other stuff in the future. So yeah, let's get started with the air filter. That's just gonna be taking off this side cover here, and then there is a Phillips screw holding this cover on right here. And then I want to say there's a wing nut holding the air filter on after that. But yeah, we'll see. Let's do it. Alright, so there was the Phillips, and there's my air filter. It's looking decently clean, but still a little dirty. I'm gonna do it anyway. And yep, there's just this wing nut, and then the whole thing sort of pulls off. And then I'm gonna put the cover back on just to make sure that no dirt or anything gets down into my intake. Alright, so I just cleaned this thing. I use the K&N brand. This is the oil, but it's got another like spray bottle that has a filter cleaner. And the way that I cleaned it, it's got directions on the bottle, but you just sort of soak the whole thing inside and out, and then let it sit for 10 minutes, and then wash it all out of the filter by running cold water through the inside of it, all sort of like going outside of the filter so that no dirt is getting on the inside. Mine, I needed to do that whole process twice, and it's still looking a tiny bit dirty, so I may buy a new air filter soon, but it's clean enough for now. So I'm gonna oil it. I think that's just getting like a good decent coat around the entire outside of the filter. and then I'll take this this cover back off and screw it back in. Alright, so I sprayed this about 20 minutes ago. It recommends waiting 20 minutes to let all the oil sort of seep in, and then make sure that you got good coverage. Looks like I did. I don't think I gotta touch up any spots, so I'm gonna get that wing nut screw and throw it back in here. Alright, now we're doing the fuel tank puck, and to get the fuel tank off, it's just gonna be 4 8mm bolts holding the side plastics on. It's going to be 2 Phillips heads holding the seat on both sides. Then for the tank, we've got 2 10mm bolts right here that I've already taken off. Disconnect this hose. You got 2 Phillips heads on each side right there. And then we've got 2 hoses right here, a vacuum and a fuel. This one's our fuel. We're gonna turn the fuel off here, just pull it down, take the vacuum, then you're ready to take it off. Alright, so we got that off, and this is our missing puck right here. On the other side, this one's on, but they just sort of pop off like that. I think I've got to take this puck off for when I do the clearance check. So I'm not going to put too much silicone on here, but I am going to put a little bit just so that it's a little stickier. But yeah, this is our replacement. I think I got this off of eaglemike.com. Again, I'll put the links for everything in the description. But yeah, here's my silicone. I'm going to throw just a dab of that on the inside of here and then stick it on. I'll probably put another dab on the other one, stick it on. All right, then the last thing that we're doing today is adjusting this headlight right here. Turning it down a little bit, and it's that bolt right there. That's a 10mm bolt. You got to loosen that just a little bit, and then you can swivel the headlight, and then I'll retighten it. I hope I can get at it with like a 10mm wrench. I don't want to have to take this entire front off. Alright, I was indeed able to get at it without taking the front off, and I just sort of fit a wrench right through here. I was able to get it on the edge like that. And then I just pushed it down a little bit and then tightened it back up. And hopefully that should be good. If not, then I'll just do another quick adjustment. Okay, I think the next thing I'm gonna do is gonna be adjusting my doohickey right here. And supposedly you're supposed to do this every oil change, is what I just heard on the video that I was watching. So to do that, I'm gonna take this skid plate off, pop this little rubber piece out, and then simply loosen the doohickey bolt this way. Loosen the doohickey bolt and then tighten it back down to 78 inch-pounds. And I've got a dedicated inch-pound torque wrench right here. Oh yeah, and I've also got a rubber mallet. Apparently it helps to sort of like hit the engine with the rubber mallet a couple times after you loosened it, just to make sure that the doohickey does slide into place. So I'm gonna take the skid plate off and get that all done. Okay, so to loosen it, we've got an 8mm socket, and we're just going to loosen this 1/2 turn. So let's go that's a 1/4. Then we'll do another 1/2 or another 1/4. And so that's loose, and as I said, hitting it with the rubber mallet here should just let the doohickey adjust itself, and then I'll be getting my torque wrench and tightening that back down to 78 inch-pounds. All right, and that is done. Got the little rubber stopper back on. Gonna throw my skid plate back on here. All right, so I think my next thing to do will be to fix this clutch lever and the kill switch, or whatever you would call this that's associated with it, where if you pull in the clutch at all, you're not able to turn on the bike with the button. And it just, it's kind of problematic. If it's even pulled like this far, the bike usually won't start. So I saw a guy on YouTube, I'll link the video in the description. This little box right here, all he did was moved it a little bit, because you can sort of shift this back and forth if you loosen these two screws. He just moved it a little bit and it seemed to do the trick. So I'm gonna give that a shot. I'll probably, I don't know which direction I'll be able to move it in, but I'll try both until it ends up working. All right, so there's the sensor, and that is the part of the clutch, that metal piece right there. Oh. That's pretty dirty too, and it just sort of slots in there. So I'm assuming that it's just the dirt which is the issue. So I'm gonna clean both these surfaces up and see if it fixes it. All right, that seems to have done the trick. I was just testing it out, and I was able to get it to start even just pulling the clutch back like this far. It did sort of stop the bike from starting if it was pulled all the way in, but like from here all the way back, it was doing fine. And it's good to know that, because it's such a simple little fix if it does keep giving me a problem. All you do is just make sure it's clean, then slide it back or forth if you need to, and it's just two little screws that you loosen up. So that's cool. Next up, I'm gonna be testing all my switches and seeing if they all work. That'll be the high beams, indicators, horn, both sides of the kill switch, the starter button works, and then I'll be testing my brake switches as well. So I'll show you my license plate, but that one's working, and I'll test my front brake switch as well. All right, next up I will be draining the carburetor of whatever gas is in there. That's just to get any old gas out, so to prevent some varnish from forming at the bottom here, extend the time between cleaning it. We've got an H3 bolt here. I'm gonna unscrew it, sort of tilt the bike down, make sure that all the gas gets out of there, and then tighten it back down. All right, next up, I'm gonna be doing a chain clean, and I think I'll also be checking my steering bearing today as well. Both of them require a lift to do. So first I'm gonna lift the back wheel up a bit, and then for my chain cleaning, I like to use this brand, this Maxima brand. Clean up and then a little chain wax on after. Yeah, got one of these brushes as well. I'll put the links all in the description. So let me get this jacked up and then I'll start. All right, we got it jacked up. Just gonna take this chain cover off, sprocket cover. It's these two 10mm bolts right here and this one up top. And then I've also got a basin to catch whatever liquid and dirt drips down after or while I'm cleaning it. So let's do it. All right, so it just went through. I sprayed my chain twice with this cleanup stuff. It's all the junk and muck. And what it had you do is you'd spray the chain, and then you'd let it stand for 60 seconds. And then you'd go through with this brush, sort of put pressure on every side. So get it in there and then pull this way, push that way, push up, and then go from the top too. and you just let it run through a couple times. I sprayed it twice, and then went through with a rag and just sort of dried it off. Next we're doing the chain wax, and I don't know the directions for this one, but I think you pretty much just spray it on there. I'll see. All right, I just sprayed the chain wax on. I just went right here, slowly moved the wheel around, and got a single rotation full of wax. And you do want to spray it on this side of the chain so that as you ride, the wax sort of like moves downward through the chain as it spins around. And yeah, I think that is my chain cleaned. So I'm gonna get that sprocket guard back on, and then I'll check out this steering head bearing. All right, so the way that we'll be checking this is we will be turning the handlebars from side to side, and I'll focus more on this when I'm not shooting. But we'll turn it side to side, and if there's any binding or anything like that, or if it gets stuck at a certain position, that means that there are little dents worn into your bearing and you'll need to replace it. And then after I'm done with that, I'm going to be checking to see if it has any play. And I could probably do that right now, but I kind of want 2 hands for it. Essentially, you'll be grabbing both sides of your fork and just sort of like trying to wiggle it back and forth. And if there's any play, that means that you need to tighten down your steering head bearing, which you do right here. And I'm not exactly sure how to do that right now, so I'm going to check it. And if I need to adjust it, I'll check the manual and let you guys know. All right, so I did a check of the side to side, and there was no binding or anything. I also checked the play in the steering head, and it seems to be just fine. But yeah, we're all good on the steering head. Very nice. Okay, my next planned job is going to be figuring out where my engine is leaking oil. For the past few months, I've noticed that most of the time when I come outside to check my bike, there's usually a fresh drop of oil underneath it. And I've noticed I've had to fill my engine up with much more oil than I usually do. And it's usually always very grimy right down here. But essentially how I'm gonna do this and figure out exactly where it is. So I'm gonna take off this sprocket guard again. I'm going to take off the skid plate, and then I'm going to clean up pretty much the whole thing, this side, underneath, the other side, make sure it's all dry. And then I've got some baby powder, and I'm going to sprinkle some baby powder all over the engine. And I saw this in a video, I'll put a link to it in the description, but yeah, I'm gonna sprinkle baby powder over the whole thing, and then as soon as any oil starts to leak out, it will stick out like a sore thumb, and I'll be able to see exactly where my engine is leaking. Yeah, so let's take these 2 things off and get to cleaning. All right, we got both of those guards off, got it all cleaned up for the most part. Now I'm gonna take my baby powder, give this a good coating. I'm pretty sure that it's not leaking from the other side. The other side has always been pretty dry, so I'm gonna do all around here, and then I'll do underneath as well to see what's going on underneath the engine. Okay, so I've had this on here for a little while now, probably 15 or so minutes, and I'm not getting too much discoloration around this. The main things seem to be this screw right here with this little trail down, this screw right here with that trail down, and then it seems like there's a little bit of oil coming out of that screw right there as well. So that's, I don't know how to feel about that. I think I might put on a little bit more baby powder around each of those and see if it gets discolored again. Okay, I've gone on and put like a couple different layers of baby powder on here. That bolt right there does seem to be leaking a tiny bit, along with that one right there. And then I also put some underneath, and those two seem to be leaking a decent amount. I also did notice some oil dripping out of here, and it does look like it's, I put some baby powder here so you can see this little like taper right there. It does seem like there's a decent amount of oil coming down out of the sprocket. So I have let this sit for a good while now, about an hour, and it does appear that right there is a decently big leak, right here and right there. This wire is also covered in a decent amount of oil that may be coming out of here, and then down underneath you've got, that's a huge leak right there, and then a smaller one coming out of this bolt right here. So then I wonder if that's a leak at all as well. I don't think that's as big of one. So yeah, that's it. It's coming out of the sprocket and a number of the bolts. Next up, I'm going to be replacing the countershaft seal, because that is the biggest source of the leak that I identified earlier. I bought some seal equipment from All Balls off of Rocky Mountain ATV, I think. Again, links in the bio or in the description. I'm also going to be changing my oil today. I'm pretty sure you don't need an empty engine case when you do change the seal, but you may have to get it standing up vertical, get the bike standing vertical so that nothing leaks out of here. I'm not too sure. I don't think the oil goes up that far, but regardless, I got to do an oil change anyway. So I think first I'm going to drain the oil, then I'll take all this stuff off, get the seal replaced, and then fill her up with some new oil. To do this, I'm not totally sure what my steps are going to be, but obviously I'm going to be taking this guard off, and then this prevailing torque nut that I got on Eagle Mike's website. That's a 27 mil. It gets torqued down to 72 foot-pounds after you're all done with everything. So I'm going to take that off, going to take the sprocket off. I may have to, I don't know, I may have to move the rear wheel up so that the chain gets a little loosened. I'm not totally sure about that yet. And yeah, after that I'll be using a little pick, getting the old seal out, putting a new one in, and then getting everything back on. Okay, so to start, we're draining the oil. I've got this low profile drain nut, or drain bolt. It's got a magnet on it to catch any metal flakes that might be circulating through the engine. I've also got my basin, and this particular one is an H6. All right, we got most of the oil drained. I also wanted to mention that every time you do an oil change, you want to change these crush washers. Put another link to those. Next up, we're going to be doing the oil filter. So that's just two 8mm nuts right here. All right, so here's our filter. It's a KN123. I get mine from K&N. There's also a little bit of oil stuck in that filter hole. So I'm just gonna dab that out with a towel, and then we will get on to doing the countershaft seal on the other side. Before I do that countershaft seal, I think I'm just gonna put the new filter in. So this end, I don't know what you would call that. There's like a slight narrowing at one end, not the other. That one goes inside the engine. I'm also going to pre-soak it with oil. I'm not sure if that's like totally necessary, but I've heard a lot of people say to do it, so just gonna pour some oil over this before I fit it in there. And we'll get those two bolts tightened down, and we'll move on to the countershaft seal. All right, one more thing. I did decide to replace this drain bolt here with a new crush washer, just to make sure that when I do pour my oil and I don't forget to do it. That gets torqued down to 17 foot-pounds, I think. I do it to 20 just because that's the lowest that my torque wrench goes. But I think it's time to move on to this guy. Okay, we got this off. Quick correction, this prevailing torque nut is a 30 millimeter. I think the stock nut that comes on here is a 27. And yeah, it was, when I was first trying to take it off, I have this large extendable ratchet. It was pulling the bike enough to where it would just move the bike forward. So I got on and hit the rear brake on the other side so that I could loosen this nut off. So next we're just taking this little washer off, and then we got to see if I can take this chain off without loosening the rear wheel. So let's see. And I just tried for a little bit, didn't try too hard, but I don't think we're going to be able to get this chain off. So I'm going to be loosening both of these nuts right here and just pushing the rear wheel forward on this little gauge right here. Okay, so we got the front sprocket off. I was wrestling with it a lot more than I was thinking I was going to. So I put both of these chain tensioners as far back as they would go. The rear wheel wouldn't go any further forward, and I still wasn't able to get it off. And then I realized I could just sort of get the chain around the rear sprocket, got it resting there. I gave it a lot more slack here. I was able to get the front sprocket off. So can't really get this chain out of the way, but I'm just gonna work around it, I think. But there is our seal. So I'm gonna get a little pick or a small flathead screwdriver. A flathead screwdriver might not work for this, but I'm gonna get a pick. I'm gonna get this little rubber piece out, and then there is this little piece right here, which is a spacer that sort of spins out, I think, or slides out. And then finally there's an O-ring in there, and supposedly the O-ring is really the thing that tends to wear on these. So that may just be my problem, the O-ring back there behind the spacer. Regardless, this little kit comes with each of those. It comes with that rubber piece, it comes with the spacer, those two O-rings right there, and that washer thing. So, yep, I'm just gonna take a pick and start getting all that stuff out. All right, so here's that spacer. That was awful to get out of there. I ended up using just some of these large pliers. Excuse me. And I zip tied this chain so that it wouldn't get in the way. And then I got my bike into first gear, so it locked the countershaft. And then I pretty much just got on either side of the spacer and twisted it out, and finally it came out. So last thing to do, I'm not sure if you can see it in there, but there's that O-ring back there. Just gonna take a little pick again and get that thing out of there. Yeah, see that? It just sort of snapped as soon as I got the pick in there. So we got the new one here. I'm gonna coat this in some oil and then just fit it right back on there. Okay, we got that spacer in there. That was a little difficult. I had to spin it around a number of different orientations and then like press pretty hard on it until finally it got into the right position and just snapped it down. So finally we're going to be doing the actual countershaft seal, and I think it's just pushing it in and maybe using a hammer and like a large socket to really get it down. So let's see. Okay, we got that seal in. I did need a 32 mil socket along with my hammer. A rubber mallet, actually. I don't know if it makes a difference, but I think it went in a little bit too far up here, and there's like a tiny lip down here. I don't think that matters too much. So I think what I'm gonna do next is get that sprocket back on and then put this new washer in front of it, and we'll get the chain around it. We'll get the prevailing torque nut on. Gets torqued down to 72 foot-pounds, and then we will get the rear wheel put back where it needs to be, get the chain tensioned correctly. I think there needs to be about 2 inches of play in the chain, just so when you're doing that you get the right measurement. And then I want to say the rear wheel axle gets torqued to 72 as well. I'm going to double check on that and let you guys know. Okay, it's starting to get kind of dark out here. It's about 8 p.m., 8:30 maybe. I got the chain tensioned. It's about 2 inches of play in there. For me, that was the 3rd notch on this little thing right here. Gonna tighten down both of these nuts and then get that castle nut tightened on the axle and get the cotter pin through it. Okay, we got the castle nut tightened down and got the cotter pin in there. It was tightened down to 69 foot-pounds. Whew, I think the last thing to do today is just get our oil back in. Sorry about this low lighting, but I like to use this Motul 10W40 7100. I just put, I think, 2.5 liters in. It calls for 2.5 liters if you change your filter. I think it calls for 2.1 liters if you don't change it. I wasn't too sure how to measure exactly, so I pretty much just filled it until it was top of the sight glass right there. Then I ran it for a couple minutes, and I'm gonna let it sit for another 10 or 15 minutes, let all the oil go back down. I'll take another measurement, and if I need to top it off at all, I will do that, and then we'll be done with the job. Look at that. Oh, I'm not gonna have a very leaky engine anymore. That is awesome. All right, now we move on to some stuff that I need to take all of this junk off for. So to start out with this whole section, we're going to be checking our spark plug to see if it is either wet or a little too blackened, to see if I'm running rich or lean. I recently did a upgrade and a rebuild to this carburetor, and I've gotten it tuned pretty well, I think. But I just want to make sure that the spark plug is looking as it's supposed to. So I'm gonna pop this off. I think the official measurement of the plug is 18 millimeters, I want to say. So an 18 millimeter socket. And there is my spark plug. Seems to be pretty blackened, although not too bad. You can see a little bit of gray there. If your spark plug is blackened like this, it usually means that your mixture is a little bit rich. So I may tighten up this idle mixture screw just a little bit to cut some of the fuel off and make the mixture more lean. If your spark plug is like grayish white or tan, that means you've got an optimal mixture. And if it's wet, that means it's like way too rich. There will be a video in the description sort of walking through all of the possible causes for this sort of thing. For right now, I'm just gonna lean out the mixture a little bit, and it should be running fine after that. And I just tightened that down a good bit. The washer here creates a seal, so you just want to tighten it a good amount to create that seal with the washer. Another thing that I forgot to do with this is you want to take some compressed air before you take the spark plug out and sort of blow out that hole, because there's some dirt that can get down there, and when you take your spark plug out, you don't want that dirt to get down into the piston. I forgot that, but I was pretty careful, so I think I'm okay. Next up, what are we doing? Next up, I'm going to adjust my throttle cables, because I noticed it sort of catching a little bit right here. Although that might be my mirror too, so I'm gonna fix that and then move on to the next. So, loosened both of these nuts. I'm gonna loosen both of these on the pull or the push cable as well, and just make sure that everything's all tightened up to its optimal state. So, yep. All right, so even after I adjusted those two ends down there, I was still having problems with the snapping back. So I came up here to these, and this one right here controlled the push cable, I want to say. So after this bolt was too far out, it was too far that way, so I tightened it up, brought it in a little bit more, and after that this thing snaps back just perfectly, even if this is really tight on there. So that's very nice. I was sort of didn't know what to do about that for a little while. This one seems to be doing pretty good too. I do have a healthy amount of play in my throttle, and yeah, it's snapping back perfectly now, so that's good. All right, let's go on to the next. Next up, I'm gonna check my battery voltage, and to do that, I'm just going to remove this red cap here, and then I've got this voltmeter, I think it's called, and I'll link to this in the description as well. We're gonna set it to this 20 right here on DC, and then we'll turn the bike on and check its reading. All right, so I've got my positive there, my negative there, and we've got a 12.35 reading. Not sure if that's optimal or not. I'm gonna look it up real quick and let you know. So I just checked with Grok, and Grok said that anything under 12.4 means that your battery has about a 50% charge. You want to be between 12.6 and 12.8 apparently, again according to Grok. I don't know if that's totally accurate, but it does seem like I'm going to need to buy a new battery soon, which is kind of nice because this thing, it doesn't look that great. I want a black battery that'll sort of blend in with everything. I am planning on painting almost all of this like matte black pretty soon, so yep, I'll probably need a new battery soon. All right, the next thing I want to do, it could or could not apply to your bike out there, but I want to clean up some of this rust all along the frame, and I don't know if there's much rust elsewhere, but yeah, I want to, while I've got all this sort of taken apart, I want to go through and clean up some of this rust. So to do that, I've got just a little Scotch-Brite sponge. This is the green kind. I forget exactly what sandpaper grit this mimics, but it's something like 400 or 600 or something like that. But got one of those, and then I've also got some metal polish from when I did this header job. And it does look like we've got some peeling going on here. I might see if I can do anything about that. I'm not totally sure. Maybe I'll need to periodically repaint this header with some ceramic paint. I don't know, but not gonna worry about that. Just gonna get on to our rust. And now we move on to a bigger job. Next, we're gonna be lubing our suspension joints down here, taking all that apart, cleaning it. We're also gonna be adjusting the preload and the damping on our rear shock. And then I also want to paint my swing arm black, just like the forks up there and my muffler. So I'm gonna be taking the rear wheel off, gonna be disconnecting all these hoses and everything, gonna be taking the swing arm off, and then we'll be undoing all of these linkages on the shock, cleaning them all up, getting some new lube on them, and then getting it all back together. So I'll show you all the process, starting with I've got a jack. I've got one of these car jacks. I've noticed with my flat jack, the scissor one, I think that's what scissor one is. It's flat, it just goes up. It can't get far back enough to really like lift the rear wheel off the ground, because it like has to sit right here against this suspension joint. So I've got this car jack. I'm just going to be putting it like right here as far back as I can, and hopefully that should only lift the rear wheel and not the front, if it's also sitting on the kickstand. So that's going to be my method. Let's do it. All right, so we got it jacked up a little bit, enough to get the back wheel off the ground. Next, we're going to be taking out this cotter pin, just straighten it out, pulling it out this way, and then we've got a 24 mil nut on this side and a 18, is that? No, 19 mil bolt on the other side. We'll loosen the nut and then just hit it through, probably using a rubber mallet or something. Okay, we got our axle out, and it was and is pretty rusty. I don't know if I've said this before in this particular video, but I'm not a mechanic, so please take any of my advice with a grain of salt. That being said, I used some of that metal polish and that little Scotch-Brite pad, and I tried to get some of the rust off. I think a decent amount got off in the middle here, but it does look like there's some more difficult spots right there. I'm not too concerned about it. It's been this rusted since I had the bike, and I haven't had too much of a problem with it, so I think that's okay for now. Next, I'm going to be taking these chain tensioners out, and I think after that I'll be good to take the wheel off. I'll just be sort of pressing or pushing the wheel forward, undoing the chain, and then I think this just sort of like slides out, I want to say, and then I'll be able to take the whole back wheel off. So yeah, and be careful when you do take this off. I think I'm going to secure it up to this rack with a zip tie, just so that this hose isn't like under tension if it's like resting down. So yep, gonna do that, and I'll go from there. All right, we got the rear wheel off. Excuse me. This would not pull off because the hose was not long enough to let this whole thing come off. So I took these two bolts out. They were both H6s. And now we can get these off, get them cleaned up a little bit, and then move on to getting the swing arm off. All right, so I got everything's sort of scrubbed up with that metal polish. Still a decent amount of rust. I think the Scotch-Brite pad that I have, these green ones, isn't as coarse as it could be. A guy that I saw that was doing a similar method for rust removal was using a red Scotch pad, so I might try to find one of those and link it in the description. But next we're just going to be taking off the swing arm, and so that's going to be this bolt here, and I'm sure there's a nut on the other side. And then I think, so I've got these lowered foot pegs, these J&S foot pegs. It's in the way of this little plastic piece. In one of the videos that I watched of someone doing this job, they popped this piece out, and then there was a sort of axle bolt running through this piece of the frame, and I think that's just holding this little linkage on. So what I think I'm going to do, because my jack is resting against this peg, so I think I'm just going to leave this linkage connection alone for now, and maybe I'll try to get it lubed up when I get a better jack. But yeah, I'm gonna undo this bolt, gonna undo both of these nuts on either side, take these linkages out, get this one undone, and get it all apart. And I'm not quite sure the order that I'll do that in, so once I've got it all done, I'll let you guys know. So we got the swing arm off. Look at that. What I ended up doing was going at this nut right here. I think it was a 22 mil, I want to say. And I just pushed this axle through. I cleaned it up a little bit as well. This one was also a little bit corroded. And then I took this linkage out, which is this axle right here. And I think that one was a 17 mil. And it was pretty tight. I had to get on the wrench with my foot in order to get that one turned. Apparently I was watching a video and it said that these linkages are usually under lubed at the factory, and not many people do this bit of maintenance, so just be prepared for slightly corrosion and very tight nuts and everything. So, but yeah, we got that taken off. A couple notes: this thing came off with a screw up here, off of this spot on the swing arm. Again, this could snack on this hose, and so you just want to watch that. And then additionally, there was this little holder thing for these hoses, and that was held on by a 10 mil bolt right here. So just get those two things taken care of before you actually take the swing arm off. And yeah, so I'm gonna address this. I'm gonna get this all cleaned up and start putting some layers of paint on it. I'm gonna take all this plastic off and everything, just get it down to the bare bones, get that taken care of, and then I'm going to move on to this and this. And then I think there are some roller bearings in each of these. So we'll get those lubed up. We'll get this axle right here lubed up before we put everything back together. We'll get it all cleaned. And yeah, I think I'm gonna leave you guys for a little bit while I make all this progress, and then we'll come back when it's nearly done. All right, so it's a good bit later in the day. I've gotten most of this apart. I've got my swing arm and a couple of the linkages over there just drying from their black paint. And I've got these 4 axles. This shortest one was the one that went through here, and that held the bottom of the linkages on. This middle one right here, that one went on the other side of the linkage, holding the swing arm on, which went around here. and the nuts for both of the ends of the linkage were 22 mil. I needed a little bit of WD-40 for both of them. They were pretty tight on there. So yeah, I've got this, I guess you would call this the inside of the bearing. This slid out of here, and yeah, there's been a number of these little tube things. I'm really tired right now. I've been outside like all day, so I'm not going to be communicating totally accurately, but essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking some of this axle grease, dabbing a little bit inside here, sticking this tube back inside, and then I'll be putting some more axle grease on the, I guess you would call this an axle, on that itself, and then sliding that back through. And one complication that I did run into is I couldn't get this one out without moving the kickstand. So just have a plan in place for when you're ready to take this one out. If you've got the setup like mine, just have a plan in place, have an extra person to like kick this kickstand up just to get that out real quick, get it back down. Yeah, so I think within all of these linkages, it's got this little roller bearing setup. Just dab a little axle grease on it, dab a little grease on the axles itself, and then get it all buttoned back together. And I'm gonna check the torques for these just to make sure that I get them torqued down to the right spec. I think I'm probably gonna do this one too. It is getting pretty dark out here. I've been out here all damn day, but we've got our black swing arm now. Got my linkages painted as well, got those put back on. I did check the torque specs for everything, and it looks like everything, I want to say except this bolt right here, everything was 72 pound-feet, including the nut for the rear wheel axle. This long bolt that goes through these two right here, that one was torqued down to 63 foot-pounds. I want to say everything else was 72 foot-pounds. So yeah, I got the, can't see them right now, but I got those linkages back on, got all that greased. Next I'm just waiting for this to dry for a little while, and I'm gonna go through and pop the inside of each of these bearings out, clean them up, get them re-greased, and then throw them back in, and then it should be dry enough after that for me to throw the whole swing arm back on, get this rear wheel on. I'm so tired. I've been like fantasizing about what I'm gonna have for dinner, but yeah, let's do it. All right, and there's it all back together. Look at that black swing arm. That thing looks beautiful. Love that. Next up, as far as painting goes, I think it's gonna have to be the frame and the engine. It's gonna be a big job when I get around to it, but I want it all blacked out in the bottom there. Anyway, again, this bolt going through the pivot of the swing arm, that was torqued to 63 foot-pounds. Both of these were torqued to 72, as well as this one connecting to the shock here. I would recommend torquing this one down before you connect this bit of the swing arm linkage. I wasn't really able to get a good, well, I wasn't able to get my socket over this one. I was barely able to get it over on the other side, which is a 17 mil, but it wasn't enough to like really grab down and start torquing on it. So I just pretty much torqued that one like as tight as I could, which is a little bit worrying. I think I might, I don't know, maybe I'll try to get some red thread locker on there in a little while, use a wrench to get it off and get it back on. Not totally sure. I may be acting a little foolishly with this one, but I guess we'll see. And then if you ended up taking the caliper off like I did, these both get the torque down to 16 foot-pounds. I'm pretty sure I've done these two before, and I think those were 16 foot-pounds. Anything else? Everything got lubed up. Got the axle back down. Oh, this was 72 foot-pounds as well. That castle nut. But yeah, I think that's about it. We got black forks. We got a black header and muffler. We got a black swing arm. It's awesome. All right, I'm not sure what I'm doing next, so I'm gonna look at my list and we'll resume. Yes, next is preload. So here is your preload adjustment. This bolt right here, I'm pretty sure it's a 12 mil. Yes, it's a 12 mil. And your options go from 1 to 5 here. 5 is going to be your tightest. And if you're a heavier rider, or if you're carrying a big load on the back, which I usually am, you want a tighter preload, so closer to 5. You do not want to go past 5 or go past 1 in either direction. That can damage your suspension. I have not touched this since I bought it, but I think I am going to adjust it a little bit closer to 5, since I do usually carry those two boxes and the top box and everything, and I'm a heavier dude, so I'm going to twist this. Let's see. Oh, that's pretty tight. I'm gonna see what's going on with this, and then I'll let you guys know. On the rebound, let's go to the other side here. I think the rebound for your shock is gonna be right back here, behind this little plastic clip thing. Yeah, there we go. I think that's your rebound. On Gen 2s, it's a little like flathead screw, but this says it's one way. I'm not totally sure about that. I think I'm gonna have to look around YouTube to see, as far as Gen 1 rebound goes, what that's all about. But I'm gonna leave it for now. I think it's been treating me fine up till this point, so I'll do a little research, and if I find something, I'll let you guys know. If not, then we'll just move on to the next. Okay, so I've got the plastics off my bike right now. Doing some much needed painting. Finally, I'm gonna get rid of these dinky old things, and I'll have some much cleaner looking plastics. I'm going with black for now. Maybe I do chrome in the future. I'm not sure yet, but doing black for now. But as far as this video goes, that's a different video, the painting. This one, next little job, I'm just going to be taking care of these fuses right here. I had a weird problem a while ago where, yeah, see this little hole right there? The fuse like burned through the plastic on this one, and so I had to get like a different little fuse holder. And I think the fuse in this one is like a short version of a fuse, and it doesn't really fit in this one well. So I'm just gonna clean all this up. I've got some fuses, got a new holder for the one in here, and yeah, we'll just get that cleaned up. Can't totally remember the values for the fuse. I think this is 10 amp and this is 15, something like that. I don't know. I'm just gonna get it done. I've got some wire snippers. Gonna use my wire stripper, and we'll get it. I don't know if I'll need that. I'm not sure what I'll do. I'll let you guys know. Okay, we got both of the fuses sort of fixed. This one coming off of the positive terminal. That one gets a 20 amp, and the other one gets a 15. Switched them both out, and they're both looking pretty good. I think I'm not gonna clean it up anymore for now. I'll just tuck them both in there. But let's make sure we did this right. Turn it on. Got our headlight working, all our lights working. Very cool, very cool. All right, on to the next. Up next, we're gonna be doing a little flush of the rear brake fluid system. I think I'm also going to be doing a spoke tighten in this video after this job, and I might also do a wheel balance. I just got a wheel balancer, a truing stand, so I might also true the wheels. I don't know. We'll see about that. That might be in the next couple days. I also, as a part of this 15,000 mile checkup, I wanted to do a valve clearance check, but I'm not sure if I'm going to include that in this video or make a separate video about it. We'll see. But yeah, for now we're getting on to this brake fluid flush. So I'm just going to take these two screws out. It's just got a screw-on cap on the top, and then to actually get the fluid out of the system, this is a 10 mil bolt right here. Just pop this little rubber cap off, and then to catch the fluid, I'm going to be using this old towel, and I'll just place it like right underneath it so that it catches the fluid as it's coming out. As far as brake fluid goes, I've got EBC.4. I got this off Rocky Mountain ATV, and we're just going to be continuously filling it up, and then pumping up the system, leaving the brake on, loosening the bolt over there, letting some fluid out, tightening the bolt again, and then letting up on the brake, pumping it up more, keeping it on, let fluid out, tighten, let off the brake, and repeat. We're going to be doing that until all the fluid has been flushed out of the system and we've got only new fluid in there. Okay, I've been flushing this out for a couple minutes. I've put about filled that little cylinder up twice. And yeah, you just want to look for, like, it was coming out pretty cloudy at first. Now it's a little bit clearer. Each time I loosen this bolt and some fluid comes out. I'm not exactly sure how much is in this system, but I don't think I need to do very much more. I think I'm probably gonna fill this up and let it drain through twice more. And just be careful when you're doing this that the fluid level does not go all the way down, because you don't want to introduce any air into the system. So if the fluid level goes down too far, then you start pumping air through, you get bubbles and your brakes get squishy. So just make sure to keep this topped off. Yeah, I'm just gonna fill this up twice more and that'll probably be good enough. So let's keep going. Okay, in my last shot, I mentioned that I didn't know what else was gonna be going in this maintenance video. Whether I would do the valve clearance check and the spoke tightening and wheel balancing and all that. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the valve clearance in a separate video, and I'm also going to do wheel truing and balancing in a separate video as well. But I will do spoke tightening in this video because it's more of a general maintenance thing and it's very quick. So what I'm gonna do is I've got the wheel suspended, got it on a lift right now, and I've got this, get it out of my pocket here. I've got this Tusk spoke wrench, and for the KLR, it's got 6mm spokes, so this opening right here is 6, that opening's 4mm, 2mm, etc., etc. I'm gonna start at the valve stem. I'm gonna go one spoke behind it, and then I'm going to tighten it, I'll skip 2 spokes, tighten it, skip 2, and so on and so forth until I get back to the valve stem, and then I will start with this second spoke, skip 2, and so on. Finally start with the third, and so on, and then you will be done. I'll do that with this front wheel, I'll do that with the back wheel, and then I think that'll be the end of the video, I want to say. I think the rest of this stuff is going to be in separate videos, so if you are interested in seeing how to do that, please subscribe to my channel, keep an eye out. So yeah, let's get started. Let's see how this actually is. I've never done this before. I should also say you don't want to over tighten these. I think the guy that I'm watching, he mentioned that you only want to turn a quarter turn at once as you're going around this, and some spokes will probably be tighter than others. Yeah, you don't want to over tighten because then you will start to affect how true your wheel spins. And as I mentioned, that'll be in a different video. I'm trying to get this wheel straightened out. I think it's pretty straight, but I've not gone and checked on a truing stand or anything. So, yep, just small turns, don't over tighten. Okay, I went through, I went around twice and tightened everything, skipping the 2 spokes, and then I went over one last time and tightened down each one just in order to make sure everything was good. This single spoke right here does not seem to be tightening at all. It's just going around and around, so I wonder if it's stripped or something like that. Not totally sure, but I think when I do go and true and balance my wheel, I think I might buy some extra spokes and maybe replace this one or something like that. We'll see. But it's time to move on to the back wheel. Okay, I just finished my rear wheel, and it had 3 spokes that were not tightening down. So yeah, I don't know if that means that I just simply wasn't twisting enough, or if the spokes themselves are damaged just too much. So yeah, that's it. And I think that's it as far as the jobs for this video go. So thank you very much for watching. Don't know how long this video is going to be. I think it's probably getting up to the hour mark or hour and a half mark, somewhere around there. If you watched that much, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, folks.